Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And today we've got the US Congress to tackle the SEC oversight, a little bit about the de-dollarization, Hillary Clinton cautioning that Bitcoin could potentially undermine the role of the dollar and destabilize countries, which is extremely bullish for crypto. We've got another DeFi related hack. This one is only worth 7 million, but still quite significant. And we've got some juicy insights as to what might happen if Ripple ends up getting a negative decision, which again, we don't expect, but should always keep in the back of your head that this game is played by the guys with money. And so it's not too strange for something to happen, which shouldn't have happened if you guys can read between the lines right there. A lot of what's going on in the Ripple case at the end of the day is worth trillions of dollars, if you guys understand. The whole Ripple case on its own ain't that big of a deal. The whole lawsuit is about $1.3 billion or something like that. Ripple doesn't really care. The SEC doesn't really care. It's about the implications further than this case that matter a lot, because that's a multi-trillion-dollar issue. And again, through the likes of articles like this one right here from Hillary Clinton, you can understand that they don't really want crypto to succeed from many different verticals. Bankers don't really want it because it takes away their livelihood. There are many big institutions right now that again think is going to take away their money, their control, their power. John Dean says the best advertisement for Bitcoin this year, and that's saying a lot because there have been some great ones. It's, take a look, breaking, Hillary Clinton cautions that Bitcoin could potentially undermine the role of the dollar and destabilize countries. Undermining the dollar, hell yeah, but we leave the destabilization of countries to politicians like you. That is all for yourself to decide. All I'll say is, if you guys have not done it yet, make sure you press the like button. And of course, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel because the Ripple lawsuit could end any day and you want to be notified the moment that a live stream drops. Because I think I'm going to just stand up, do a live stream. Even if I'm naked, I'll get this news out to you guys because I can't imagine anything more important that I could post on my channel that is not a Ripple lawsuit end or finish or settlement, whatever. Anyway, with regards to this lawsuit, there's something interesting I wanted to cover, and it is this right here. Update: the SEC has lost 5 of its last 6 cases in the Supreme Court. SEC versus Cochran. Now, again, guys, I want to get to 1,000 likes on this video, so make sure you try that out. The SEC has apparently tried to go to Supreme Court many times, right? And that is basically, in theory, after they would lose. Now, most of the time, it's actually been the way that they might get some sort of victory or might get some sort of conclusion that either party is not happy with, which, again, in the Ripple versus SEC case, would basically mean that either the SEC won or Ripple won, or there was some sort of conclusion that a party was not fully satisfied with, and so they take it a layer higher, which in this case here is the Supreme Court. And there, again, there's going to be some higher judges to take a look at all the details. They oversee everything and then come to a final sort of decision. Apparently for the SEC, it's happened 6 times, out of which they've lost 5 times. And that basically means, if you can read between the lines, even if Ripple does end up actually losing its first, or on its first ground rather, again, we have a couple other parts that they could win on, because if it goes to trial, you guys understand, right? The thing is though, let's say everything is lost, everything didn't work out, they can always take it one step further even, and apparently the SEC is not really good at that phase. And because we've got Stuart Elrod here saying the SEC has lost 4 of its 5 cases in Supreme Court, thanks to the few that had the courage and resources to fight back against the SEC's bullying and clinging to stretch legal positions that were not faithful to the law. And again, it was just the first judge basically did not have all the facilities to, I guess, understand exactly what the SEC was attempting, but apparently the Supreme Court knows and sees through. So right now, again, about 2 days ago, yet another case was lost by the SEC, making it a very bad win rate for the SEC on the higher courts. And so let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that Ripple were to actually do really bad at the start and actually does end up losing, well, probably it's going to be fixed in a later stage. It will just take a little bit of time. To move on, with regards to the Bitcoin price, here's what we're watching. Watching this specific chart, again, our ascending, broadening wedge. We're still continuing to watch that for a potential breakdown of Bitcoin. Today, again, is going to be a pivotal and very important weekly close. We're all watching that. It's going to basically decide whether or not Bitcoin, and again, it has to stay above 28.7 thousand. It's going to probably do that. It's going to decide whether or not Bitcoin stays in bullish territory and actually closes as a quote-unquote breakout of bearish to bullish territory. And the next week, the next close on Sunday will decide whether or not we get the confirmation for that. We right now are also in a pivotal position where altcoins could actually flourish, as Bitcoin often reverses within this exact area. It's something we're all watching quite clearly and carefully here, as a reversal in Bitcoin basically means that altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin in this period. That is very much possible. And on the very short term, the 4-hour chart, people are looking at this exact chart, which is just a simple Bitcoin chart for a specific little breakout here. Many of the ones I talked to expect a breakout towards the upside, but obviously it could be either side. Just expect a move in the Bitcoin price relatively shortly here. In regards to the hack, the loss of today's 100 finance hack is 7 million. The root cause appears to be a hacker that donates 200 wrapped Bitcoin to inflate the HWBTC exchange rate, so that even a tiny amount of 2Y of HWBTC can basically drain current lending pools. Here comes the hack transaction. So yeah, again, 100 finance over on Optimism got hacked. If you were involved, I feel sorry for you. But apparently there are companies out there that right now are like starting to get so good at fixing all these problems and finding all these problems before they even happen. It's interesting how the crypto space is changing so much where, side note, I told you guys about airdrops, right? And the fact that I was going to make multiple videos. One of the ones I've been working on was Sui, because I was pretty excited about them, but they apparently already had a cutoff date a little while ago. I believe it's February of 2023. And the problem here is there's like the trending hashtag right now, which is why I thought about it, is hashtag Sui scam. And the reason that's the case is because they said, hey, we're going to be airdropping a lot of these tokens to the people that interact with us early and the test, etc. And like you can read right here, they're just not happy with the way in which Sui is handling their tokens. There's a lot of these automated bots or some that are trying to FUD it because they're all posting the exact same things. What's kind of popping up in my head? It could also be so that there's a group of people that are coming together to, launch the same message, as they're all not happy. In my own opinion, though, it's never really smart to turn against your community. As you can see, what it does with the people, they're just not happy. But you can see somebody's sentiments here. I created 1,000 Sui wallets, minted 1,000 Cappy NFTs and upgraded them, staked 10,000 plus Sui tokens, did 10,000 plus transactions Sui, testnet, and DevNet, because he was expecting a nice juicy airdrop for all his wallets. But now he had to pay for his tokens. And I guess this does reflect exactly why people can't get it, because too many people were faking the system. And they did say many times that it was going to happen this way, but people are just not happy. And so that's a little bit of a trending topic right now. All right, there was something else that was quite interesting. Paul Grewal, all right, the chief legal officer at Coinbase, said in just 60-something words, SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce has managed to articulate all that hits awfully close to home. Thank you. All right, quote, today's commission tells entrepreneurs trying to do new things in our markets to come in and register. When entrepreneurs find they cannot, the Commission dismisses the possibility of making practical adjustments to a registration framework to help entrepreneurs register, and instead rewards their good faith with an enforcement action. Today's Commission treats the notice and comment rulemaking process not as a conversation, but as a threat. And now, if you don't understand, it's basically along the lines of, if you want to start something new, they said, hey, come in and talk to us, we'll help you get through this. But it eventually turned into a, if you want to do something new, come to us and we'll sue you. So that's obviously not how it was meant to be. And Warren Davidson said, yep, to correct a long series of abuses, I am introducing legislation that removes the chairman of the SEC and replaces the role with an executive director that reports to the board where authority resides. Former chairs of the SEC are ineligible. And as far as I read, this is basically a joke where the SEC is acting like a for-profit company that's just in there purely to make money on all these cases instead of actually trying to help out, etc. And even John said, agreed, Hester. Every member of Congress should receive a copy of Commissioner Peirce's recent dissent. Her words are the words of a sitting commissioner, not a critic like me or a business entrepreneur like Coinbase. Powerful. And all I'll say to that is on the 18th, right? So in 2 days from now, we're going to be seeing Gary Gensler speak in front of Congress. And so I'm quite excited to see exactly what SEC Chairman Gary Gensler is going to come up with at that exact point. Again, I do personally believe that they're not going to be asking him the right questions, but they're on the right track. And that's already something quite powerful. There was I have that sometimes. There was also something else. A new draft bill in U.S. Congress wants stablecoin issuers such as Tether and Circle to be regulated by the Federal Reserve. This is something they're talking about, and they've talked about this for a while. It's quite an interesting story and quite an interesting predicament because it would basically make them say, hey, this stablecoin stuff you're talking about, we officially recognize it to be perfect. And a lot of crypto banks recently had issues with getting to that state. And so it doesn't really make a lot of sense, in my opinion, for the Federal Reserve to make this and give this the clear, basically. On the contrary, yeah, if you want to protect the people and your economy for that matter, this is a smart choice. And also harboring the Tether, the Circle dollars, well, it's keeping the crypto ecosystem still denominated for the most part in dollars. And so I'd personally also say, yeah, it's a smart idea. On the opposite side, like we already covered, many of these guys that are higher up, they just don't want crypto to succeed. We, for example, had Hillary cautioning that Bitcoin could potentially undermine the role of the dollar and destabilize countries. Well, if you think about it then, you read articles like this, it's like, it's really not that strange. A lot of these lawsuits actually pop up. It's really not that strange to see them go after crypto deeper than anybody could ever find logical. It's because there's a hidden agenda there. It's because they're recognizing the threat. The way I see it is, if they didn't think it was really scary, they'd probably just let it slip, let it slide, and not do anything about it. And the same thing applies to Ripple. If they were not scared, I don't think they'd go this heavy after them. And I also sometimes think about it, why did they go after Ripple? Why not after some easier parties? Well, it's probably one of two things. Either they didn't really expect Ripple to fight back so hard, they expected an easy settlement, or they tried to go from a top-down approach by blazing in hard because, well, Ripple didn't have a sale as many other cryptocurrencies had. And maybe they wanted to kind of, like with Ethereum, Cardano, a lot of these cryptocurrency projects, they had an easy way in to kind of just finesse them later down the road. They didn't want to, close all those doors just quite yet. They just wanted to go from a different vertical now that regulations were not as tight and not as certain. And if they started going with ETH and Cardano, etc., they probably had so much research done into it now that it will be hard to go after Ripple, one of the harder ones to go after. It's just something I've been thinking about. Maybe they try to, now that there was still a gap, attempt it, which is why they never made things too clear, thinking it was going to be over soon as well, to then swipe up all the other cryptocurrencies. But since it didn't go that way, now they're just panicking. Now they're just trying to delay because they have to think of something that can still get them a win, to still go after multiple other cryptos afterwards. Anyway, in 2 days from now, we've got ourselves a very interesting battle between Gary Gensler and Congress. I'm surely going to be watching that. I hope you guys will too, as it could be a very volatile time, and I think mostly positive for the crypto market. And so I'll be watching that. But yeah, that was it for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed it, and see you guys again in another crypto video later today.